Let's go!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to BingetownTV. This is Brian here with Jimmy, and today we're going to be covering the Disney Plus original series, What If? This is going to be episode 3, entitled What If the World Lost Its Mightiest Heroes? And this is that key third episode we've been alluding to. We've been talking about it for the past 2 weeks on the podcast, and I really hope it lived up to the hype with you guys, because me and Jimmy, I already know, loved this episode. I thought it was really interesting going back and rewatching it, because we kind of knew what the twist ending was, and it was still just as rewarding. I thought this episode was really solid.
Yeah, this was a really, really good episode. We've had this one in the back of our minds for 3 weeks now, so we've been dying to talk about it. Definitely darker than the first two. Okay, the first one was the first one was a really nice, fluffy, feel-good story with us having Captain Carter. The second one was sad because it was T'Challa and we missed Chadwick Boseman, but another pretty uplifting episode.
Yeah,
you know?
The story itself was really fun, lighthearted.
Yeah, now this one, we have the death of a lot of Avengers here. I mean, Hulk, Thor, Natasha, Barton.
Yeah.
I mean,
pretty dark stuff too. I mean, Barton was forced into like an insanity because he was doubting his own powers. I mean, it was really unsettling watching Hulk literally blow up. I was like, geez, this is pretty gruesome for a Marvel installment. But it was really cool. I thought it was very interesting how, credit to Hank, he figured out how to kill all of the Avengers.
He did. Now, let me ask you, I want to jump right into it. Did you guess at any point that this was going to be Hank Pym?
No, not even a little bit. I was like,
I'm ready to pat myself on the back here, because when they inject Tony, and obviously we didn't say Tony yet, and he's obviously another big death. Way before his time, because we know his death means so much in the actual MCU. But he gets this injection, and you're supposed to think that it was some kind of poison or something that would kill him. And as soon as Dr. Betty Ross says that it was some kind of projectile, and they kind of show how the mechanism works, I was like, that would be cool if it was like Ant-Man. Now, I didn't guess he was going to be the villain, but I did say in my head, like, whoa, that'd be pretty cool if that was Ant-Man just like shooting through his neck. Again, another dark thing, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, no, I didn't guess that. Like, towards the end, it got closer and closer when they started talking about Hope. Obviously, I started piecing it together. But I didn't guess he was going to be the villain. But I did have the thought that he was the one going through the neck of Tony.
Yeah, once you narrow it down to, who can get small and fit through a needle, that really narrows who it could possibly be. And I guess at this point in the MCU, Paul Rudd wouldn't have been Ant-Man yet, so it would have only been Hank.
Exactly.
So I'll give you like a little golf.
A little half pat, not a full pat there, you know.
Give it to you. But what we've kind of gotten into the habit of doing, why don't we go through the characters and who they landed the actual voice actor for? And I was pretty impressed with the roster that they got for this one too. I don't know if you have the list, but
yeah, I do. I agree. It was a really good list here of star-studded cast, like always. They had Nick Fury with Samuel L. Jackson, our boy. Hank Pym was Michael Douglas. Now, I'm actually going to say here that when I saw Michael Douglas's debut towards the end of the episode, I thought it was like a knockoff Michael Douglas, to be honest. Like, maybe because he was trying to be like deranged a little bit, but for some reason I didn't think it was Michael Douglas. Clark Gregg is Agent Coulson. You can tell that right away. Great to see him back. Jeremy Renner was Clint Barton. And while we're on that topic, I just want to say that the scene from Thor, when you first see Clint, when he's on like the not the harness, but you know, the thing he's
right?
He's like hanging down, getting ready to take the shot. I just remember back years ago when this was debuting, and I saw him, and I was like so excited for Jeremy Renner to be Hawkeye, because I freaking love Jeremy Renner. So that just reminded me, and I was so pumped to see that scene redone in animation. But we also
a big Hawkeye fan, or were you just like a big Jeremy Renner fan and you were hyped?
I really enjoy Hawkeye. I read a lot of stuff on the comics with Hawkeye right around when I was reading all the time. There were some good Hawkeye stories. There was a story when he became Ronin, and that was really cool. And to you, Ronin was in Infinity War and Endgame when he was the dark version of Hawkeye. That's kind of the outfit he was wearing. But there's in the comics, there's a secret character that was just a badass assassin. You find out it ends up being Hawkeye as Ronin. Tom Hiddleston was Loki. Jamie Alexander was Lady Sif. So she had a quick line, and they got her again. So she's making some comebacks in these Disney. Yeah, I was like DC. Disney shows.
MCU, the Disney MCU.
There you go.
Yeah, I have to imagine that her and Tom Hiddleston were just both on set for doing Loki. They were like, "Hey, come to the studio, bang out these lines in a day," and she only had that really one quick snippet.
Exactly. Now the big dogs that we didn't have: no Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson.
Wonder why, dude.
I don't know. Now we would know why if they needed her now. That's way in the past. So yeah, I don't know. Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. Yes, we can figure why they didn't get him, just because he probably demands so much money. Liv Tyler was not Dr. Betty Ross. She was pretty much known from the very, very beginning of Incredible Hulk movie that she was not going to be used again, and that's kind of why Black Widow became the love interest for Hulk, Bruce Banner. Thunderbolt Ross, his actor didn't come back. Brie Larson wasn't back as Captain Marvel.
Nope.
So we did have a quick Crossbones Brock Rumlow scene, but he was not Frank Grillo. But that was crazy that
he was Frank Grillo.
Oh, it was.
He got credited.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Episode. Did you also say Mark Ruffalo?
Mark Ruffalo was Hulk. Yes. Yeah, okay. I didn't realize that he was actually credited as Brock Rumlow. I thought he wasn't. So that's funny because, again, a nice little callback to something you're not expecting. But that's pretty much it. There was probably a couple other ones here and there, but those were the big ones.
So now there was one heavy hitter actor that I thought did a noticeably poor performance. Who do you think I believe did that?
Poor performance, because honestly, I already told you that I thought Michael Douglas didn't sound like himself, but maybe it was just the voice acting and him trying to sound deranged. Would it have been Mark Ruffalo?
No, I thought he was good. It was Tom Hiddleston. I thought
really.
I thought it sounded very much like he was an actor trying to voice act
to sound like him.
Yeah, it just seemed off to me. I don't know. I didn't think he was landing for me.
That's funny. I don't know if it's because we just saw Loki and we're used to seeing him live action or something like that. Like when I heard him, I was like, that's him. I didn't, there wasn't really a question if it was or wasn't. But it is tough. Like, it's really tough to get the voice acting to jump through the screen. And we talked about this during episode 1, I believe, when we were talking about the voice actor for Steve Rogers. Not all actors are great voice actors, you know? So that's, I mean, you obviously want to get the actor if you can, just because it's continuity. But there's times like Steve Rogers did great. I mean, Tony's actor, Tony Stark's, we didn't get much of him, but he was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, but he wasn't much to me. He wasn't an impersonator. He didn't really sound like Robert Downey Jr. that much to me.
No, not really.
Yeah, but he did fine with the mannerisms and how Tony would be acting around Iron Man 2 time. Black Widow, I thought it was okay. I thought the voice actor did fine. Yeah, like I don't think that there was any issues. It's at times she had kind of faked me out, and I had thought I heard Scarlett Johansson. Other times I just appreciated that it sounded like Black Widow.
I really liked the scene where she's in the truck and she's like trying to talk to the guards and nobody's giving her the time of day. She's like, oh, forget it. Like, hold this for me. That was very Black Widow-esque of her.
It was.
Yeah, I thought she did a good job.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And just to rewind a little bit, this takes place. We've been through each episode saying that they're going off movies. You know, first one was Captain America, First Avenger. The second one was obviously Guardians of the Galaxy. This one was a little bit of a blend because obviously we're talking about the Avengers Initiative and leading towards the Avengers. And you could see scenes like from the beginning scene, Iron Man 2, and how the Iron Man 2 started, obviously wouldn't end the same way because Tony dies. Then there's some Thor in it, obviously. And again, we have some Hulk. So it's pretty much the origin stories of our MCU characters, except they're being killed off. And again, that brings it back to the dark side.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the implications of some of the stuff that they did was really cool to see how it plays out, and how Shield and Nick Fury really carried this episode on his back, how they kind of just found a way regardless. Okay, the Avengers are down, but someone still has to fight this fight.
Yep.
And the one thing I do want to point out is how much of a badass they made Nick Fury look like. Obviously, they probably can't do that stuff with the real Samuel L. Now that they're doing the animated medium, they can make him how he's supposed to be in the comics. You would know more about that, but we've discussed it a few times through our MCU podcast episodes, how Nick Fury is just supposed to be the man. Super intelligent and
super spy, super assassin, super everything. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have superhero powers, but he's pretty much like a Black Widow. You know, he's
so now, was the fight scene at the end before it's revealed that Loki is also doing the whatever, was the initial fight where he's like blocking him and everything, that was all Nick Fury though, right? And
I took it like it was just Loki the whole time, to be honest.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
But it's interesting that you say that though, because it could be. The only reason why I say no is because when he started shrinking and coming at him, he like swiped him away like it was nothing at certain times. It seemed like the beginning speech was Nick Fury, because you can tell that there's some heart in it, and he's talking about hope and the background of hope and things like that. So maybe the beginning combat, the beginning speech is Nick Fury. But then obviously it obviously changes to Loki, because Loki starts being a dick, saying he doesn't care about hope and he doesn't care about any of the Avengers who die, and then he starts being super powered. So it could, I don't know when the switch happened, and you know that Nick Fury is right there at some point because he shows up after the multiples disappear. So we don't know when the switch actually happened, but we do have to assume that Nick Fury is a badass, and just because the actors get older doesn't mean the character should, just because like that's how the comics are. The comic characters are the same age pretty much for 50 years, you know, our time at least, you know.
Yeah. So have we identified the actual Nexus event of this episode? I guess this is the first time that the Watcher didn't say, there it is, there it is. But the Nexus event would have happened years ago. It was Hope Van Dyne dying on a SHIELD mission in Ukraine, and that's what kind of drove Hank Pym to go down this path.
And did you see the Easter egg for this, or did you catch it? This is kind of a tough one unless you're really, really paying attention. Let me just get this out here. So in Captain America Winter Soldier, there's a conversation where Natasha says that she was on a mission in Odessa, and she was trying to smuggle out and save not an engineer, I think it was a scientist or something. And she talks about how Bucky was the Winter Soldier, was causing some problems for her. Fury mentions in What If that Hope was killed in a mission outside of Odessa, Ukraine. So we're wondering here if the next event was actually that Bucky killed Hope during the actual extraction of the scientist, engineer, whatever it is, or if the next event is Hope showing up in the first place, being a part of the mission. But it was cool that they brought that back, and it's tough to catch that if you're not paying attention, like
definitely
hardcore. But another thing that I thought was really cool, and we are jumping ahead a little bit, but we're talking about Nexus events, and we're talking about how the Watcher, he was overarching in the background when T'Challa gets picked up by Michael Rooker's why am I blanking here? Yondu, Jesus, that was bad.
He was picked up by his subordinates.
Yeah, his subordinates, Taserface. Yeah, so he's overarching in the background. That was really cool. Now we have a pretty funny scene where Coulson's driving, saying to Nick Fury he got his coffee for him, and you just see like the desert, and then boom, there's the Watcher watching over the background. Coulson parks the car, shit starts hitting the fan. Boom, there's Loki showing up. But yeah, I thought it was really cool that the Watcher was watching over, and I told you guys this in episode 1. I love how in the comics they do the same thing, and it just they're copying it for this What If, and again, it being the animation, it totally works and it totally makes sense.
Yeah, they always choose like the coolest shots to like put them in the background. It's
Mm-hmm.
very like the cinematography. I guess you could, is that even a word that's applicable to an animated show? Cinematography?
Works for me. Animation,
I don't know.
cinematography works
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, there you go. But they always pick like the coolest scenes. It's him driving across the desert,
Yep.
just Uatu in the background. Yeah, it looks great. Yeah, what else do we need to hit here?
Yeah, I thought that they were actually really good with the comedy in this episode too. Like I was
For sure,
actually
yeah.
I was actually laughing pretty hard at Coulson a couple times. He
Oh,
got me
yeah,
a few
same.
times. Yeah, like the first one is when they're talking about the hammer and Fury's like, "All right, he's talking about the hammer," and Coulson's like, "No one can lift the hammer. Not even Jackson. He does CrossFit."
CrossFit.
And it's cool because Jackson is actually an agent in Shield that was said in Thor when they talk about someone doing a perimeter and they're like
Oh
Jackson.
my god.
So they're really hitting everything. And then another
Yeah.
Coulson line that got me was he's on the phone when he's describing Thor, killing me when he's talking to Fury. He's like, really great hair. And Fury's like, excuse me? And he's like, it's an accurate description. He's gorgeous.
It's an accurate description. Coulson's money.
Yeah.
I like, for the record, Nick Fury's coffee order is a double macchiato.
Yeah.
You don't want to forget that.
You don't want to forget the man's coffee order, you know, the big dog's coffee order. And I guess we might as well nail Coulson's other hilarious scene because they're talking about his password for the Shield database, and it's Steve, I love Steve 0704. And 0704 is July 4th, which is Steve Rogers' birthday. So my gosh, they're just nailing it here.
What they do, man. And why not? If you get a chance to revisit what you put out years ago, yeah, you're going to be spot on with the Easter eggs and the callbacks and the winks. Yeah, what else do you want to hit at this? I'm trying to rack my brain and keep it short.
Yeah, no, I just thought that it was a really cool take on the Avengers initiative and Avengers assembling and their origin stories just going dark and really, really pushing the darkness, but then showing the light at the end of the tunnel with Nick Fury pulling out, all right, we do have some other Avengers and Captain Marvel, which is great. We see her beeper and she says, who we have to fight. And then we have our boy Cap getting pulled out of the ice. So, I mean, we're going to have a whole nother set of Avengers. And it's cool to think about. And again, what if? It's cool to think about, like, let's think about Avengers 1, except now we have Cap as a leader, Captain Marvel, which is super overpowered for that early in the MCU. Now we need other superheroes to join. And who could it be? Like, thinking about the options is just really cool. Like, we don't even have to go over it right now, but just like thinking of a whole nother lineup. I mean, the cool part about the comics is Avengers, new Avengers, Avengers disassembled. There's just so many comics and they just shuffle the Thunderbolts. They're just shuffling the teammates. And that's what everyone looks for, just because new interactions, new team ups, new, you know, it's just really cool. New character development based on who you're actually working with. I mean, maybe we see Doctor Strange early. Maybe we see Ant-Man early. I mean, anything can happen because the whole beginning of the story changed, you know? So I'm in for that. Otherwise, I just thought, and I'll ask your opinion on this. I thought this was pretty funny. So we're sitting there and Loki shows up. And again, this is another callback to Avengers because Loki's showing up and now he's, first of all, the rightful Prince of Asgard because Thor dies. And let's take a pause here. Are you a little upset? Because I'm a little upset that Hawkeye's arrow just straight up killed Thor. I don't really.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that worked, actually.
So, because it's not another situation where like Ant-Man went through or Hank Pym went through him. He made Hawkeye. He hit his reflex finger, dropped it, boom, the arrow shot. Now he's pointing at the heart. He's aiming for the heart. But at the same time, we know Thor's a god. I'm not really expecting that to kill him. I'll take it for this episode just because, again, I thought they were very creative for how they killed Hulk. You know, that's another situation where how are you going to do that? And again, it is very interesting and creative that they were able to enlarge his heart until he blew up or whatever, just, you know, using the Pym particles. I was a little upset with Thor's death, but anyway, back to back to Loki. Now that Thor's dead, he's the rightful prince of Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
That changes his story a whole lot. And yeah.
So what was the deal there? Did all of humanity just kneel to him willingly? Because over the course of him showing up on Thursday, then Friday, he's like at the United Nations saying everyone accepts me as the ruler, like you guys want this.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one to
really
fight him. It's going back to Avengers. You know, he's the original villain. There's no one to assemble yet to fight him. Fury has to go pull Cap out of the ice and explain to him what the hell's going on. Captain Marvel only gets called after Loki tells everyone to bow. So that's why Fury's going for it. I'm sure she'll take care of him at that point. But Fury at this point literally uses Loki to take out Hank Pym, is grateful for that, thinking that he's just going to roll out. And then Loki's like, wait a second, Midgard's pretty undefended right now, and I'm the rightful prince of Asgard, and I have a rightful purpose, man. I have a glorious purpose, and I'm going to take over Midgard. I'm going to stay here on a nice little vacation. So Avengers will assemble and take care of him, but for now, everyone's kneeling because there's no one to take care of him yet. So,
true. I thought it was weird that it just happened so quickly, but I guess for the purposes of the show.
I mean, also, too, like for him, it would happen that quickly just because he's like, hey, I'm here. No one's here to fight me. I'm taking over. Now, the quickness will be the issue for assembling the Avengers. So, obviously, he goes to United Nations, was it? Or
it was somewhere.
Something like that. And he says, everyone kneels. I'm the leader of the world, leader of whatever it is. And Fury sees the caskets. He talks to Coulson. He decides the Avengers aren't going to die here. He picks up Cap and he calls Captain Marvel. And that's when things have to get that's when the ball will start rolling to finish off Loki for now. So, but when he gave his speech, I don't know about you. Tell me if you thought of this. When he's given his speech to Fury when he first shows up and he's saying kneel, and Fury's like, we don't do that here. And at the same exact time, Black Widow's dealing with Hulk and Thunderbolt Ross and that whole thing. She's calling him and the phone's ringing while he's trying to give the speech. And all I could think of is those movie theater preview things that say everyone turn off your phone, because he's like giving this speech and all of a sudden I just hear the ringtone over and over and over and over and over. I was like, all right, is this the before Marvel movie or turn off your phone thing?
I was pretty happy that happened in the show because it really defused the situation, because Loki kind of dropped the act and was like, hey, I'm in the middle of something, and then we could kind of get to a conversation. But no, my head did not go there. Now it's going there.
Yeah. And are you a fan of Seven, the movie? Have you seen it?
Yeah, that's the what's in the box. What's in the box? Yeah.
Well, Fury wants to know what's in Loki's box, and I'm pretty sure it's Gwyneth Paltrow's pretty little head. So, is that Pepper Potts or is that Gwyneth Paltrow? Yeah, because Gwyneth Paltrow is whose head it is in Seven. So,
really?
That's Gwyneth Paltrow is Brad Pitt's wife, girlfriend, whatever.
That is her. Yeah.
So,
great movie.
I liked it. The last thing I wanted to talk about with you is a couple Easter eggs. Nothing really crazy here. I thought it was pretty cool that in Hulk, Edward Norton as the Hulk before our boy Mark Ruffalo shows up and takes over. He uses a disguise as a pizza. He works at a pizza place, and I've only seen the Hulk maybe once or twice, to be honest. So I need a little bit of a refresher. But he works at a pizza place, and that's why Black Widow notices that someone would be in the room when Dr. Betty Ross is chilling in her lab and she sees the pizza hat. So it's the same exact hat from Incredible Hulk that Edward Norton is wearing. And I also thought it was really cool that the Watcher himself talks about Tony in the beginning and throughout the episode, saying that Tony's dealt with demons inside and out. And they talk about him being hungover and things like that. In the comics, like, Tony's a major alcoholic. That's like his big demon in the comics. And they don't really get into it too much in the movies at all. And they do in Iron Man 2 show him drinking and kind of start thinking that they're like showing there might be an issue, but they never, and then they kind of kill it off. Now, obviously, you're playing with fire when, I mean, I'm sure Robert Downey Jr. is fine, but you know that his own past, like, do you really want him to be acting and doing that whole thing? We already know that
Right.
actors who are sober and start doing playing characters who are like alcoholics or drug, fall back into issues with that. Who knows if that's actually the issue, but it's a huge thing in the comics that Tony is an alcoholic. So I like that they actually brought it up and gave a little bit of an in between, actually saying that like around Iron Man 2, he says like he battled those demons and he got over it. And it kind of
Yeah.
gives us an answer between Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, and the rest of the movies, like showing that he actually defeated those demons. And that's why in the other movies, we don't need to even worry about the fact that if he drinks or he doesn't drink.
I had no clue that was even a thing in the source material. That
Yeah.
really would have
Yeah.
added another layer to him, but I can definitely see from a creative standpoint why they wouldn't want to go that route.
I mean,
And
it's
from
also tough
know your
when, yeah, it's tough when you're a guy who literally brought the MCU and Marvel back from the dead.
Mhm.
Iron Man, you're gonna really want to go through a thing where he's like dealing with alcoholism, and
Yeah,
like just make him as good
got to
as you
know your
can. Yeah,
personnel.
exactly. Otherwise, man, I thought this was a great episode. We talked about it. We talked it up for weeks. We've been telling everybody listening and watching that you, you can't wait. We're finally in the dark, and guess what, dude? I'm like Kang right now. I finally don't know what's coming next, man. This feels crazy.
Great callback. That's a great Bingetown Easter egg.
There
Calling
you
back to
go.
Loki.
I feel just like Kang right now. I finally don't know what's coming next, and I'm very, very excited to see what episode 4 is. The only other thing I really want to talk about again is Michael Douglas, Hank Pym. It's cool that they made him Yellow Jacket because when he's Hank Pym, he's another dark character in the comics. He's good, he's bad, he's in the middle. He's got a dark past, especially with his wife and Hope and stuff. So usually when he's villainous, he's Yellow Jacket. When he's good, he's Ant-Man. It's kind of back and forth. But I like how they used the Yellow Jacket costume, and I thought that it was a really good twist that that he freaked out about Hope's death, and obviously we know that his wife, well, at the time we find out she's not dead, but at the time he believes she was dead, blaming Shield, blaming Nick Fury, and that fuels his hatred, fuels the reason why he wants to destroy what could be the Avengers because he just doesn't want anyone to go through what his wife and daughter did. I thought it was a good twist, man, and I definitely didn't guess that he was going to be the villain. I guess that it would be cool if Ant-Man was the projectile that killed
Yeah.
Tony, but I thought it was cool. I thought the voice actor did well. I did say, when I say voice actor did well, it's freaking Michael Douglas. I did say that I thought it didn't sound exactly like him, but again, he's supposed to sound like crazy and off the rocker because of how
Mm-hmm.
how much hatred he has. What about you, man? What'd you think?
Yeah, no, this was a great episode. One of the things that I like most through 3 episodes is that kind of these chain of events, these snowball effects, they're all very, very plausible. If this Nexus event happens, all the dominoes that fall make so much sense. And this Hank
Yep.
Pym twist, that absolutely makes sense. Not to mention that it's very plausible that he has the chops and the know-how to take out the Avengers in kind of a covert way like this. He just kind of fit the bill as someone that could fill this role and take out the Avengers. So I really appreciated that about the episode. Um, I didn't know that Hank Pym was such a controversial character, but
He is.
adds another layer to it from the source material. So thank you for that, Jimmy.
Yeah,
But
no
all in
problem.
all, yeah, we've been talking about it for the past 2 What If episodes. This one was a banger. And like you, I'm just excited to not know what's coming up because I think Zombie Avengers is the one that's at the top of my brain now. I'm just waiting for that episode.
Zombie Avengers. There's going to be one with Ultron with the Infinity Stones.
I
I mean,
saw Gamora in Thanos' armor with his like double
yeah,
sword or
so
whatever you want
there's
to
going to
call
be
it.
some freaking cool ones coming up. Our boy Paul will be back hopefully next week. We missed him
Yeah.
for these 3 weeks, but we took care of it, I think. I think we did all right.
Nah, we did a good job for sure. He's going to be back soon. I feel like this is like the 3rd time it's happened where he's missed the first episode or 2,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah,
he
it
joins us
happened.
midway.
It happened for Loki too because he missed the
Mhm.
pre-screeners for Loki too. So, Paul, we
Yeah.
miss you. You'll be back next week, hopefully.
Mm.
Guys, also check out our Spider-Man No Way Home trailer coverage because we're about to talk about that next, and it's going to drop probably today. But anyway, Tags, hit it up. Give us that outro.
Keep an eye out for our continued coverage of What If. We're going to be covering each episode week by week as they come out. And as always, if you like what you heard, give Bingetown TV a follow on Twitter and Instagram. Visit us on BingetownTV.com and subscribe to our show on Spotify, the Apple Podcast app, or wherever else you may find your podcast. Also, we have just recently started a Patreon that can be found at our website. Once again, we are Bingetown TV, and thanks for listening.